Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics Daily. We are going to talk politics with a stellar roundtable lineup here. We've got You're a Good Man, Charlie Collins, and Charles Blake in charge over here. Those are my two TV references. We'll see if we can work some more in before the day is over. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
Very much appreciate y'all. All right, first segment here, we're going to talk taxes. Neither one of you guys are on the legislative tax reform task force, but you both play in a lot of tax space there, so I want to get your opinions on some stuff right here. Charles Blake, I'm coming to you first. What do you think is going to actually be accomplished by this task force?
That's a good question. What I hope is going to be accomplished is that we make the tax code fair, that we simplify the tax code, and that we do things that are going to help our low-wage earners in the state of Arkansas. We've had two tax cuts in the last two sessions that have been targeted at middle income earners and low wage earners, and I think there was a proposal out there by Representative Sabin, that was that could have been more effective for our
income tax
credit,
right.
which would have cost less and would have done more, would have raised the purchasing power for those low wage earners, and I hope we get around to seeing the merits of that proposal.
Representative Collins, same question to you. What do you think is going to actually be accomplished? Low income and middle income earners have been already taken care of. Are you going to go for the high end this time?
Yeah, I think one of the core things that needs to come out of this work is actually focusing on job creators and those higher income earners and the kind of workers we want to get more of in Arkansas, because with programs like the tax cuts we've had over the last 4 years, the private option, and Arkansas Works from a healthcare perspective, we're really doing a good job to take care of low-income Arkansans. And now what we need to start focusing on are creating those really good jobs that are going to really start moving up the median income in the state. The governor has stated a goal on CNBC and other places to...
Even this show, Charlie. He's even stated it here on this show.
He's stated it on your program.
Business and politics.
You just got speculated to other places.
That he wants to get that top rate to 5% and a plan to get that top rate to 5%. I think the governor has looked at his tax cutting as, let's start with the middle income, then let's cover the low income earners. We've got those taken care of. Now let's find a way to help cut taxes on the high income earners as well.
6.9% is the highest tax rate right now. You're talking about bringing it down to 5. Even if you do that over a period of time, that is
huge.
Hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to do that. So how's that going to happen?
One way I know my Republican colleagues hope it happens is with the sales tax for purchases that happen online.
Right.
That was a proposal that I think should have passed this last session. We were hoping that we could prioritize some of that funding to go towards our priorities, which would be the DD wait list, rural first responders, and of course pre-K. I have heard from the other side of the aisle that you know we still have to take care of highways, and we still want to make sure we can get down to that 5%. But that's just one example. You know, there could be some other things that could give us some savings. For instance, Charlie was talking about some of those high dollar wages and corporates, but you know we have some exemptions that really have to look at. For instance, charter planes and rent a cars. You know, those are some things that we could be having some savings from that we should be looking at in this blue ribbon
I
committee.
would argue that that's not going to bring, even the sales tax on the internet purchases is not going to get you from 6.9% to 5%.
Lofty goals.
Pretty easily there, Charlie.
Yeah, the whole idea of eliminating exemptions will be at Donnybrook. And in my view, you know, we're really going to almost have, you know, a one or the other. Either we're going to really tackle in a serious way a lot of these exemptions and say everybody's in the same boat. The idea of broadening the base and lowering the rates. Otherwise, people are going to say, you're just focused on mine. But I agree with you, luxury living exemptions should absolutely be on the list to be eliminated. But we also have to go where the money is. And that's the kind of things that people are going to be really nervous about. Prescription drugs, gasoline, food, those are all huge sales tax exemptions, and we're not going to be able to make significant rate reductions if we don't tackle some of those really big exemptions, and I'm hopeful we'll do it.
Two of the biggest areas, and I'll come to you first on this, Charlie, is you got agricultural exemptions and you got manufacturing exemptions. Randy Veach, Arkansas Farm Bureau, on this program just this weekend and says we're going to fight those agriculture exemptions farm income is down. Farmers have been hit hard by these
Disasters.
floods and disasters. So you got, and I think that manufacturing is going to put up a pretty strong front for you too on the exemption fight there. So if you can't do those exemptions, those huge exemptions, what does that leave you?
Yeah, personally, I believe that business inputs is a different animal than consumption-focused exemptions. So things that are business inputs, we have a very high corporate income tax rate. We don't have things like loss carry forwards. So if we're not going to touch corporate exemptions, then I would be against touching some of the corporate opportunities we have to improve the code to make it less exemptions, broader base, and lower rates. But in my view, the biggest money is really on the consumption side. The consumption side from a sales tax perspective and from a personal income tax perspective. But I think the task force needs to look at everything, but it will absolutely be a lot of consternation and a lot of debate to get from here to there.
Charlie's in his words, right?
That's right, that's right.
You said you wanted to have some fun with us.
All right, so here's what I think is going to happen, and you guys tell me why this is not going to happen, is that the exemption folks are going to put up a hell of a fight, and they're probably going to win, is my prediction at this point in time, which is going to leave you with trying to streamline state government as much as possible, which you guys have done through some Medicaid savings and health care over the years. There's a government initiative right now to streamline state government, do some things that might be transformational there. I don't think that gets you the big dollars for those government savings that you're looking for, but I do think it reduces more than $100 million a year in terms of state government spending. Is that a plausible scenario?
I see that as, I expect that as a scenario, but going back to those exemptions, we have to look at capital gains. You know, if we're looking, I remember a couple sessions ago we passed the capital gains exemption, which was couple $10 million for, they only went to a dozen families. You know, and we have to start looking at those exemptions back to the high wage earners. We can't just go right to streamlining state government when state government is doing its work and helping those in our state who need it the most.
I think Charlie's going to fight you on that. I think there's more Republicans in the legislature than Democrats on that fight.
I think the good thing, though, is we need to get all the ideas on the table. Everybody needs to feel heard. And kind of to your point, what could we do with state government? Let's take some bold looks at things like pension reform. So in the private sector, we use a defined contribution pension model. It is a much more predictable, it's much more portable. It gives workers an opportunity to have more control over their future, and it's less liabilities on state government than a defined benefit plan like we use across state government. So maybe there's an opportunity to look at something like that. I also think that we ought to really look hard at luxury living. What about, and this is an idea somebody suggested to me, what about eliminating the exemption on home sales taxes for homes that are over $500,000 and phase the exemption away for homes over $1 million. So for example, today, you buy a house, you pay no sales tax on it. If your house is under $500,000, you would continue to pay no sales tax on it.
If it's a mansion like what you live in, then you're going to tax yourself.
Under this plan, I would not be taxed in the house I currently live. Yeah,
but the one he's ready to move into.
Gotcha. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. I want to come back and talk about the most controversial subject of this last session. You guys were in the middle of it. You were certainly in the middle of it, and that is guns on college campuses. We're going to take a quick break. We're back with more right after this.
Arkansas Electric Cooperative Corporation provides electric energy across 2/3 of Arkansas. This is an exciting time in our energy history, with incredible progress being made in renewable energy and storage technologies. As our energy portfolio continues to diversify, we'll maintain an all-the-above strategy to provide reliable and affordable electricity. Ever since the first light bulbs were placed in our members' homes, the electric cooperatives have been the solutions provider for our members, and we want to continue that well into the future.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America, moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us. Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.
I did.
Welcome back to Talk Business and Politics Daily. I am joined by Representative Charles Blake and Representative Charlie Collins. Thank you both again for being here. Let's talk about the big controversy this last legislative session over guns on college campuses, which morphed into much more than guns on college campuses.
Is that where it started?
That's where it started.
I think
guns
you
on
called
college
it
campuses.
the Professor Kerry bill. What happened to the
You voted against it.
So it had to be expanded so it could get more votes. Charlie, what's been the reaction in your district since the passage of what ultimately came about?
I think that whole process is an example of democracy at its finest. And I think, frankly, leading up to the answer to your question, people really feel like that the Arkansas legislature, in conjunction with the governor, really are in a very responsible position. What I mean by that is the bill that I initially proposed, passed out of the House with 70 votes, was changed dramatically when it was over in the Senate. That then came...
Senators will do that from time to time. You're well aware. They
Well,
have to change. They have to mess with the House business.
That's the way democracy works. Then that bill, with the amendments, got passed out with 70 votes out of the House. And then the SEC, a week later, said, hey, we've never really thought that hard about this subject, but now that Arkansas would allow guns in college stadiums, we would have a real issue with that. We might punish Arkansas with schedule changes or other things. So everybody was very concerned that this law could lead to some bad outcomes. And within a week, we fixed it.
The SEC knows that there are already some guns at college games, don't they? Know that already? So.
I don't. To my knowledge, the law that we had really opened it up in a way that it hasn't been legally in other places, to my knowledge.
Right.
And that's why that letter came out. But my point is, we came back with another law that tweaked out the problem. And so the controversy, the most extreme elements of the controversy were taken care of. And so I really observed through that process kind of a dying down of concern that we were somehow so extreme we weren't able to keep things inside the lines.
Yeah. What was the reaction in your district? Were people clamoring for this measure?
Oh no, and even the tweaking fix that if it's tweaked, it didn't go far enough. If you still look at where we are, I mean, guns are allowed in airport terminals. Guns are going to be allowed if you have the extended. You are going to be allowed at Little League baseball games. I just spent 8 hours at junior deputy yesterday, and there was some tension and some attitudes and some aggression that was flared. And it's just some places that guns should never be, especially when you have access to children or when you're in a concealed environment. You know, so even the fix didn't go far enough. You know, and I didn't vote for the fix because it didn't go far enough. You know, it was, and I think I remember telling Charlie, you know, you got to sit in this and get us out of this. You know, it was a. From my side of the aisle and my area, you know, with UALR here, and having a high school on campus, you know, that was one of the biggest concerns is where are we going with this and why?
No. So it's a subject that's going to come up for discussion in the next legislative session in terms of how it's been implemented. Are you going to push for it to be more open carry in the next session?
I feel very good about where we landed. We had roughly 70-30 votes. My original bill was 70-30. The bill coming back from the Senate passed out 70-30, and the stadium fix passed 70-30. When I look at that kind of overwhelming support from the people's representatives, I feel like we've got it just about right the way it is.
So you're going to tell Charles that you're not bringing any gun bill next session?
I have at this time, I don't see an improvement to make to the bill as we've laid that out.
And other legislation? Might you come with something new?
I'm not currently planning anything of that nature, but I'm always open to ideas.
Yeah. All right.
It should be fixed, and we're going to work to get it fixed. You know, it's
tell me what you want to see changed.
Back to the exemptions.
More
exemptions. We have to nail down to where we are going to be logical and common sense. Say, guns should not be here, regardless of if you think it's a deterrent or not. You know, guns should not be in certain places. And I know we went with the SEC and the stadiums and the state hospitals and UAMS, but those were three places that had advocacy groups who were saying are writing letters saying this is not. What about the airport? What about those? They don't have the same groups. So.
I'll let you have the last word on this. Are you open to other new exemptions?
I don't see a need to consider that, but I'm always open to anything. But I think the big idea here is by having this enhanced training program, it'll be the first time I think a state has really amped up the level of qualification. I believe this is something, after we, in the next 2 years or 3 years, it'll take us that long to really see this in operation, I think we'll have created an example, a test market for the whole country, and we'll start to see this type of law expanded, just like when we did the private option. I predict it'll be another one of those type of leadership moves for Arkansas.
All right.
Just like we fixed it as soon as we had to sign it. Right after we signed it, we had to fix it.
Right.
That's a quick fix. Now we need to take a longer study, maybe a task force, and take a longer study and see.
You guys are all into the task forces, man. I tell you what, man. And Governor Hutchinson will support you on a task force. He likes task
Yes, he
forces
does.
too. Now, all y'all got to do now is just get the charts to go along with it. Then you guys will
the
be
big blow-up
gubernatorial
chart. Yeah,
material.
you're right.
All right.
You're right.
Representative Charles Blake, Representative Charlie Collins, thank you both. Appreciate
Thank you.
you. All right.
Thank you.
That's all for today's program. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time.